Alright, for those that don't know me, my name is Megan Davidson and we're here as part of RSL Active. You'll notice that Andy is still in the room because we'd made an agreement about 8 weeks ago that I would cover for him today because he had an appointment. That got changed, but we decided that it was good for us to still do this because we plan to work together a lot for different veteran organisations. So I volunteer for Frontline Yoga, who I got trained for yoga, so they support frontline workers, both military, emergency services and healthcare workers, so your doctors and nurses. And Buddy Up Australia is basically an organisation that supports veterans and first responders and their immediate families through connection purpose, so doing activities, physical activities, volunteering and social. So thank you, Andy, for letting me be here. This will be recorded for RSL Active and will be available on through his channel after this class. I'm very similar to Andy in terms of the way I teach yoga, so it's very much around form and breath, connecting our breath to our movement. So you'll find that today is very similar to the sessions that you've already been at. I teach slightly different, but every yoga teacher does, okay? But what I plan to do is build on what Andy's already done over the last sort of 5 weeks. So we're going to start today though, down on the mat and on our backs, as if in Shavasana. So I want you to take the moment to just lay back and enjoy it. If you want to stay here for the whole class, you may. And I invite you to close your eyes. And you may wish to have your palms facing up, facing down, or maybe on your stomach, whatever is comfortable for you. And we're just going to do a body scan to check in to see where we are at the start of the class and compare that when we finish today. So starting at your toes, just maybe wriggling them, tensing them up and releasing. Taking that awareness to your ankles and your feet. Checking in to see how they are. Moving that awareness up to your calves, and your knees, and your thighs. Moving them around, tensing the muscles, releasing. Bringing that awareness now to your groin, your pelvic floor, your buttocks and your gut. We hold a lot of stress in our gut. So tensing those muscles and releasing. Moving that awareness now up into your chest. Just being aware of the breath coming in and out of your body. And maybe taking a moment to deepen that breath in and aiming to expel more air out. You might sigh as you exhale. And moving the awareness to your hands by clenching the fists and releasing them. Up to your forearms, your elbows, your upper arms and your shoulders. Moving them around. Just checking in to see how they feel. Bring your awareness to your neck, maybe moving that slightly around. And then your head by lifting your eyebrows and relaxing them. Opening up your mouth, relaxing your jaw. And scrunching your facial muscles and releasing. Just being aware of how your body feels as we've done that body scan. Aiming to recognise that breath and take it through the class today. So when we hold a pose, we don't want to hold our breath. We want to keep breathing deeply rather than that shallow breath that sometimes we can get trapped into. And it's also something to take away from class, is to aim to have that deeper breath when you're ready. And now I want you to, wherever you are, is bring your feet together and your arms above your head. And if you can, just stretch out as much as possible. It's okay to have your knees bent if that's more comfortable for you. Just taking that stretch. And now what I want you to do is shift your legs to your left. You feel like you're in half a banana right now. And take your right foot over your left, so your right ankle is just locked, if that's comfortable for you. So you should be feeling a lovely stretch down the right-hand side of your body. And if it's hard for your arms to be above head, it's okay to be in cactus arms, but keep them above if you can, just on the ground, because we're trying to get our shoulders onto the mat. Keeping the right hip grounded as much as possible. If you want to have a little bit more of a stretch, you can with the arms. Grab hold of that right wrist with your left and just pull that right arm across. But all we're trying to do here is get that stretch on the right-hand side of the body. And to release, just come back to neutral. Might bring your arms back down by your side just to release them for a moment and jiggle them out. And then bring them back above your head, and we're going to go the opposite way. So bringing your legs across to the other side and bringing that left leg over the right. Feeling that stretch down the right-hand side of your left-hand side of the body. In banana pose. Keeping the breath deep. And then coming back to neutral. And bring your arms down by your side and just jiggle out your hands a bit. Just bringing the strap so it's closer to your reachable hand. And I want you to grab the strap. It should be close by now. And we're going to wrap it around our left foot and the pad of the left foot and bring it up to the sky. Now, if it's more comfortable for you to have your right leg bent, that's fine. I might go this way so you can see it. So this is a safe hamstring stretch. We're aiming to push the heel of the foot up to the sky. And if you can, stretch out the right leg, that's great, and flex that foot. Taking another breath here. And taking the strap so that the shoulders are touching the mat and you're not straining your shoulders. Okay, so not be too much pressure, but we want to have enough of a hold on that strap that we can now open up the leg to your left hand side, opening it up to get that inner thigh stretch. Just as far as feels comfortable. You should be, if it feels too much, just bring it back to the centre, but just holding it for a moment more if you can. And then bring it back to centre. And then we're going to bring it over to the other side. So if you do have your knee up, you may need to lengthen your leg, but that's okay. Just bring it over to wherever feels comfortable. Even a small movement is a good stretch. You should be feeling that stretch now on the outer thigh. Taking a breath here. And then releasing it back up to the top. And now what I want you to do with your foot is just turn it on a 45-degree angle. Just notice and then bring that strap a little bit closer. Can you feel the shift in the muscle? Then stretch. And then bring it back to parallel and down. Nice. Stretch out the legs and just give them a bit of a jiggle. And then place the strap around the other foot, the right foot, and bring that up to the sky. So the left leg can have the knee bent, or if you wish, you can elongate that leg and have that foot flexed, that left foot flexed. So with the right foot in the air, we're trying to get that heel to the sky. Keep your chin tucked, aiming to get length in the spine. This is a really safe way to stretch your hamstrings at home. If you do have a strap, the hamstrings tighten a lot as we get older, so it's a really good, safe stretch. Now we're going to open up and take it out to the right hand side, just as far as feels comfortable. Feeling that stretch on the inner thigh. Focusing on the breath. And then bringing it back to centre. And now we're going to bring it over the other side. So if you do have your knee up, you may need to extend that knee just to get it over a bit further. Feeling that stretch in the right hand side of the body. The right hand side of the leg, sorry. And then bringing it back to neutral. And once again, we're just going to shift the placement of that foot and aim to have that foot at a 45-degree angle, and then just aiming to bring that strap a little bit tighter so that the leg comes closer to the body. And notice the shift in that stretch in the back of the leg as you move your foot to that angle of 45. And then bringing the foot back to parallel and release that leg. And just outstretch your legs, give them a bit of a jiggle, reaching the arms above the head, one more stretch. Feel free to sigh, let out that stale air. Once you do, take up the knee on and bring it towards the chest. Having the other leg extended if possible, but it's okay to have that knee up to the sky if you need it. But bringing that knee to the chest, if you do have the right leg extended, I want you to flex that right foot. The left foot, the one that your knee's up near your chest, is going to rotate. So feel free to change the rotation clockwise, anti-clockwise. You can point and flex. Just get some movement into that ankle. You can write your name. If you've got a short name, maybe you write your last name. Just get some movement into that ankle. Keeping your chin tucked. Shoulders relaxed back and down on the mat. Squeeze one last time into the chest and then release. Give that leg a bit of a jiggle and then bring your right knee up to the chest. If that left leg is extended, flex the foot, toes pointing to the roof. Right foot can rotate, as you did on the other side, however feels intuitively comfortable for you to move that ankle. We're opening up the hips here, we're warming up the ankles. And just check your jaw. Are you clenching your jaw? Just release that. Sometimes we don't even realise we might be doing that. And focus on the breath. And then release that knee back to the mat and just jiggle them a bit. And we're going to bring both knees into the chest, and we're just going to rotate them so that we're giving our lower back a bit of a massage. So it doesn't matter how far away your knees are. You can grab the back of your thighs if that's easier, and just rotating so that you're getting more of a, not your feet, but we're rotating our knees so that we're massaging our lower back. And we're going to make our way up to sitting. So you can do that in different ways. You can either rock up like this to a sitting, or you can rock to the side to get yourself up. So however you feel is the best way for you to rock up to an easy seated pose. Now, if this is not so easy, you can get blocks to just prop up your knees if that feels better. We've got plenty of blocks, so I can actually force some around. And we're going to just have our hands on our knees. Chin is slightly tucked and our crown is to the sky. And we're going to just focus on our neck. So I want you to look over to your left-hand side. And then I want you to take your right hand behind you. You're going to look down. Take your gaze back to the middle. And then up. And rotate through that. So middle, down, middle, up. So you should be feeling a lovely stretch as you go through that process of down, middle, and up. Back to middle, and then back to centre. Looking at bring your arm back to the knee and bring your gaze back to the front. Go to the other side now. Take your gaze to your right. Take your left arm behind your back. Looking down, middle and up. Middle, down, middle, up. Just noticing that stretch. And take that back arm slightly further around if that feels good. And then back to middle and then back to centre. Bring your hand back to your knees. Now we're going to do a reverse tabletop. So with your hands, they're going to come directly behind you, but your fingertips are going to face towards your buttocks. So I'll do it from this side. So we're in this position, and this might be where you stay. Okay, you might just simply lean back on your triceps and do a bit of a stretch. And what we're trying to do is open up our chest. Okay, but if it's possible for you, I want you to take your feet to hip width apart, and we're going to press up, and this is a reverse tabletop. So wherever you can come to, our aim is to get as flat as possible, but it's really up to you how far you come. And at any point, just come back down. So you're feeling a stretch in that, the back, opening up the chest and the stretch in the shoulders. And coming back down, back into your easy seated pose. Now, we've probably all taken the pose we took when we were 4 years old. So what I want you to do is take your legs apart and flip your legs so a different leg is in front. How did that go? Did that feel really weird? If you can't do it, go back to how you were, so that's fine. And that's fine, that's a good pose there, Sharon. So all of a sudden that easy seated pose becomes a little bit different. Okay. So what we're going to do is another neck stretch. We're going to do an infinity sign or a figure eight. So we're going to look down to our right, look up to our right, come back down to our left, up to our right, and basically to that figure eight. Now you can do as small or as big as you like. Just take it slow, that motion. Feeling little bits in your neck, and you might want to stay in one spot to just give it that extra bit of stretch. And remember to breathe. And then when you get to centre, I want you to take it back the other way and reverse the figure eight. All the while focusing on your breath, aiming to get your lungs full of air. body back to neutral. Finish that cycle. Nice. So we're going to do one more of those reverse tabletops. So we're going to, once again, have our hands facing our buttocks, having our feet placed, and as far as you can get up, just pushing yourself up once more. Opening up the chest, and then down again. Well done. And now we will go to a normal tabletop. I'll go this way, actually. So the toes are untucked, tops of our feet are on the mat. So you just face that way, it's fine, but I'm just going that way so you can see what I'm doing. Sorry, I will go like this. And we're going to inhale, looking up to the sky and lifting our tailbone. Exhaling, tucking the tailbone and taking the gaze behind us. So I'll go that way so you can see me. Inhaling, looking up, lifting tailbone. Exhaling, tucking tailbone, looking through your legs. So in your own time, I want you to take that movement, cat-cow pose. We're matching our breath to our movement. We're warming up our spine. And then if you feel like you want to move in a slightly different way, by moving your spine to the side, moving your hands down, whatever feels comfortable for you, move with the way your body is feeling to warm up the spine. Focusing on your breath. And then bringing yourself back to that tabletop position when you're ready. What we're going to do now is stay in this tabletop and our hands are splayed on the mat and our palms should have full contact with the mat, and that protects our wrists. We're going to take our right arm and we're going to lift it up to the sky. We're then going to feed it through underneath. We're threading the needle. And then we're going to lift again to the sky. Opening up our chest and then feeding it through underneath. One more time up to the sky. And this time, when we feed it through, we're going to hold it there. So just holding that, you might take the left hand and take it out further in the body, whatever feels good. Feeling that stretch in the upper back, in the thoracic area, in our shoulder. And then if you can, flip that hand so the palm is facing down now. And just notice the shift in the stretch there. If that's too intense, just go back to the other way. And then to release, bring the hand back so that you're both in the tabletop. This time taking our left hand up to the sky and feeding it through. Left hand up to the sky and feeding it through. And last time up to the sky and feeding it through. And this time holding it. You might take the right arm so it extends out further. A couple of breaths here. And then flip the palm for that different stretch. And then bring back to tabletop. And we're coming back into child's pose. So straight back with your knees close together. If you feel more comfortable, you can have your knees apart with your big toes touching in downward facing hero pose, but otherwise, it's just whatever feels comfortable for you.
So you can have your arms extended, or you can bring them behind you, but by your side. Whatever feels comfortable for you. This is your resting pose. So at any time during the practice, you can come back to this pose. Taking a few breaths here.
I'm just going to turn the air conditioning on as well, I think. Taking a few more breaths here. Nice work.
And then coming up from child's pose, creeping yourself to the mat and extending yourself out so that you're on your stomach. Hands are just short of shoulder height. Yep. We're pressing our feet. I'm going to go this way so you can see me better. Pressing the feet into the mat. Okay, so the tops of the feet should be in the mat. Your hands are placed just at your shoulders. So what I want you to do is press your pelvic bone into the mat so that you can feel your knees raise off the ground. Your thighs are engaged. And now we're going to simply get our forehead on the mat. We're going to exhale together. On the inhalation, lifting the upper body. The arms are doing nothing, okay? So we're in cobra pose. We're engaging our lower back. Remember to breathe. Bring a lot of strength to our lower back. And then release. Bringing your cheek, one of your cheeks, back down to the mat. We're going to do that again. So bringing your forehead to the mat. Exhale together. Inhale, lifting the head and just engaging that lower back to bring yourself up. So you're not using your arms at all. Breathe and release. Now that one might be enough for you, but if you're happy to, bring your arms beside you with your palms facing up. So arms beside you, palms facing up. We have the same posture, so we put our feet pressed into the mat, the tops of the feet. We're engaging our knees. We're pressing our pubic bone into the mat. We're going to bring our forehead back to neutral, onto the mat. We're going to exhale together. On the inhale, lifting up our head, our arms and our legs. Once again, engaging our lower back, strengthening our lower back. So we don't move, our gaze stays looking down at the mat. If that's too much, come out of the pose. But if you can, hold it there for one breath and then release. Well done. We'll do that one more time, but if that's too intense, just go back to that cobra pose or simply lay and enjoy. So lifting the head, lifting the arms and lifting the legs. This is locust pose. And release. Nice work. Bringing the hands back to your shoulder height. And we're going to press into our hands, coming back to a little bit of a tabletop. We're going to untuck the toes. And we're just going to do a bit of a toe stretch. So what I want you to do is, with your big toes, sort of focus on them, and we're going to push back on those toes. How does that feel? We put a lot of pressure on our toes, so that kills me when I start to do this. And then we release it, and then focus on the middle toes, getting them with contact on the mat, and push back, just stretching those toes out. Be quite intense, but hopefully by the end of the class this will be, won't even notice it. And then coming forward, and then the pinkies pushing back. And one more on the big toes, because I think they really need it. Coming forward and then pushing back on those big toes. Nice. And coming forward, once again, focusing on your hands, making sure the palms have got full contact with the mat. We're going to have those toes remaining tucked. We're going to lift our knees and we're going to lift our tailbone and get into our first downward dog. So the aim is to get the tailbone as high as possible and our upper body straight. We're aiming to have our ears at our biceps and our head should be loose. We should be able to nod our head and shake our head loosely. Moving that around. And I want you to take your armpits and rotate them in as if they're facing each other. So you will notice that your shoulder blades separate a bit more from your spine. Now, if you can, I want you to, with your feet, pump them. So one foot, trying to get the heel down to the ground, and then maybe the other one. Go slowly, just one heel down to the mat, bending the other leg, and then vice versa. So you're just training your legs to lengthen the hamstrings that little bit more. And then steady. And walking the feet towards the hands so that your chest is on your thighs, your upper thighs, and your hands can grab the elbows on either side. And just in a forward fold, you might sway slightly. It's okay to have your legs bent. And then taking your hands to your shins and extending your legs so they're as straight as possible and your head, your neck is long, your back is straight to halfway lift. And then when you're ready, slowly, each vertebra at a time, rolling up to a standing position. Nice. Well done. So, with our standing position, mountain pose, I find it better for most people to have your feet slightly apart. So some places will teach you to have your feet together, but I think for balance it's actually better to just have them a bit wider apart. So what we want to do is ground our feet. So have a feel of your toes, lifting your toes and then splaying them and then taking them back to the mat. We crunch them up in our shoes, so it's really good to have that space to allow them to spread and bring more balance. Then we just can rock on our feet, maybe in a round, noticing how on each part that makes connection with the mat, how that feels for our balance. And then come to a place of stability and rest. And then I want you to engage your knees engage your thighs and your knees will lift. Focusing then on your pelvis. So sometimes it can be at an angle, it can be forward and back. So I want you to move your pelvis around, just noticing how that feels. And then bring it to a point of, so it's parallel to the ground, but also in a slightly tucked position of your pelvis, gauging your core. And then we're going to focus on our chest. So we're aiming to lift up those shoulders and bring them back. Do that a couple of times, lifting our shoulders and bringing them back. When we do that, we sometimes open our hands. So our stance is very much, so we've got that chest opened. And the last one, bringing it open. And our neck should sit directly over our body. And assume that you've got an orange or something here, that you've just got to tuck your chin slightly to hold it. So the crown is facing the roof.
This is mountain pose or Tadasana in Sanskrit. And it's one of the few that you remember because it's Tada and here Tadasana. Okay. This is a really good pose to remember once you're outside of the yoga. So if you're in a queue or you're cleaning your teeth or just standing around, this is a really good posture to continue to strengthen your core and strengthen your whole body's muscles. All right. So we're going to do a couple of sun salutes now. So if you do want to use the chair, Sharon, go for it. So taking a breath in and a breath out. Breathing in, raising arms up. Breathing out, forward fold, bending the knees. Inhale, half lift, neck is long. Exhale, back to child's pose. Inhale to tabletop, and if you have the opportunity to do a plank, you can do that. We're lowering down into cobra. Inhale for your mini cobra. Exhale, we're going to come to a downward dog. Got a couple of breaths here. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, lifting up, hands above the head. And exhale, back down. Nice work. Do that again. Thanks, Andy. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, back to child's pose. Inhale, tabletop or plank. Exhale, lower. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, downward dog. Taking 2 breaths here. Inhale, forward fold. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lifting up. And exhale. Nice work. We'll do one more of those. You can have a drink. Inhale, arms above head. Exhale, forward fold, bending knees. Inhale, halfway lift, extend the neck long. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, tabletop or plank. Exhale to lower. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, downward dog. Taking a few breaths here. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms to sky. And exhale, well done. Take a drink. Well done. Well done. Take a drink. That's the hard work done. Maybe a little bit more. A couple of standing poses. So, we're coming to our balancing poses. So, I might move over just slightly there. We're going to hands on hips. We're going to lift your left knee just like this. We're going to rotate it out and we're going to bring that heel to the ankle. This is where you might stay. But what we're going to do is focus on these hips. Notice how we may have just actually slightly dipped our hips. So we want to make sure that our hip is neutral to the ground when we do this. Okay? So we want to tuck it slightly and have that parallel to the ground. This is where we might stay for tree pose. You may feel comfortable to lift your balance slightly up, but we want to go either below the knee or above the knee. Okay, so whichever feels comfortable for you, but at the end of the day, you want your hips to be neutral. So you can keep your hands on your hips, taking a light gaze in front of you. And then, if you are comfortable, raising your arms like a tree for tree pose. Great. So we're strengthening, obviously, the ankle, bringing balance to our body, challenging our mind. It's a really great pose. Remember to breathe. And to release, just come back down. Hands to heart center first, then to hips, bringing the knee forward and down. Brilliant. And just shake them out a bit. And then we're going to work to the other side. So lifting that right knee up and out, and then check in with your hip. And just move it if you like to just actually see what that looks like, and then bring it to neutral, tucking it slightly. And if you can, bring it up to that calf, great. Or above the knee is fine too. Keeping your hands on your hips. And then when you're ready, bringing those arms above your head, maybe wriggling like the tree branches. And notice your toes. Have they grabbed the mat? Can you lift them up slightly? Strengthening your ankles here and your mind. And then bringing the arms back down to heart center, back down to the hips, and then taking that knee to the front and down. And then just up on the toes and heels, shaking it out a bit. Great. All right. We've done some warrior poses in the past. We haven't done warrior one, so I'm going to take you through that. So hip width apart with your feet. Toes facing forward, hip is neutral. So we're going to take our left foot back, straight back. So make sure that you don't take it behind. We want that same hip width apart to get that stability. Okay? And you might want to take it, I have to take it a little bit further back. And we're going to bend that front knee, and that knee is going to be over our ankle. So it can go as far as our toes, but we don't want it past our toes, okay? Preferably, we want it aiming outwards and over our ankle. We're going to lift that back foot, and we're going to bring it to a 45-degree angle. Now, if that's too intense here on your hip, just go back to having it parallel, okay? But that 45-degree angle, you can really feel now a stretch here in that hip and the strength in that front leg. If your arms and shoulders are okay, let's lift those up. And if your neck allows, raise the gaze to your hands for warrior one. Take a few breaths. Even bend your back slightly, keeping that bend in the knee. Bringing a lot of strength to our legs and openness of that hip. To release, bring the arms and gaze down. Bending that, lifting that back foot and bringing it back to the mat. Good one. On the other side, taking the right foot straight back. Bending that front knee, ensuring it's over the ankle. Lifting that back foot and bring it to that 45-degree angle. Once again, it might be different on this side. So if that's intense pain, go back to that parallel foot. Arms are okay, let's bring them up. And gaze up. Focus now on the feet. Can you lift your toes and place them back down on the mat? How will it feel if you stretch your feet away and assume that you're pulling that mat with your feet away from each foot? And then trying to grasp the mat and bring it towards each other. How does that change the muscles as you do that? One more breath. And releasing the gaze, releasing the hands back to hips, bending that back foot and bring it back to the front. Fantastic. Whew. We're going to do one more. We won't do warrior two, we're going to do trikonasana. So I want you to take your right foot back And then we're all going to go to the left hand, view to the left hand side. So you're going to, turn to your left. So we're going to face that way. I might actually come to that mat because I think it's going to be easier. All right. So we've got, don't like this mat. So we've got a wide stance, a bit wider if we can. Yep. We're going to take your left foot and turn it 90 degrees. With your back foot, you're going to just turn it to a 45-degree angle. Yep, perfect. So the front foot basically is dissecting the ball of the back foot. Okay, you can have a micro bend in that front knee so that you're not locking it out. Our shoulders should be over our hips. So once again, sometimes when we do this, we flick our hip up. So what we want to do is have our hips neutral. That leg is straight. We're going to be doing triangle pose. So we're doing shoulders above our hips, hips are neutral. We're going to raise our arms up. We're going to lift our shoulders and back and down, just so we know we haven't got them too high up. We're going to lift that front arm, so your left arm. We're going to reach out. And when we rotate, I want you to think about this bottom hand as doing nothing, okay? So it's just basically a pendulum. So just move that arm like this, because then you know you're not doing anything wrong with it. And that top arm, what we're trying to do is open it up, touch that back wall. As if there was a imaginary wall just behind you, we're trying to pick that up, okay? So this arm's doing nothing. Top arm is opening up our chest in Trikonasana or triangle pose. That front knee can be a little bit bent. Taking a breath here. Feeling the stretch in the side of the body. Brilliant. To release, simply lifting the arm back up, coming to hands on hips, and taking that foot, your left foot, and bringing it in. And we're going to take our right foot to 90 degrees. The back foot can now go into 45, so the front foot's heel is going to bisect that back foot. Checking with the hips, parallel. Keeping that front leg is straight, might have a micro bend. Lifting our arms, we'll lift those shoulders back and down. Making sure our shoulders are over our hips, we're reaching out. We're going to rotate, and remember this bottom arm is just simply there to hang. That top arm is opening up, touching that back wall. Trikonasana or triangle pose. Really strong pose here. Strengthening our legs, opening up our side body. Well done. To release, simply bring your arms back up, back to your hips, and rotate. Hip, heel, toe your feet back in. Okay, we're nearly there. So, widen stance. We're going to just balance this out now with an extended wide-legged pose. Legs are straight, but just with a little micro bend in them. And in fact, you can bend them as much as you like, but aim to just have a micro bend. Hands on hips, so we're going to hinge from the hips forward. You may want blocks in front of you, but otherwise, if you can come to the mat, you might need to widen the stance to actually get down there. That's fine. What we're trying to do is keep a long spine, long neck, but we're basically balancing after those asymmetrical poses. Just allowing our body to even up again. Taking a breath here. And then grounding that left arm on the mat as much as you can and lifting the right arm up in a windmill. So if you have to bend your legs, that's fine. We're just getting a twist in the spine here. And then bringing that right arm down, doing the same on the other side. And back down. One more each side, just a twist. Fantastic. And up on the other side. And down. And then hands on hips, hinging at the hips, just coming back up, heel, toe, back in. Into Tadasana. Taking a moment here, you might close your eyes in Tadasana and just notice how your body feels after that. We've done some pretty intense stuff. really big stretches. How does that feel? And then take a breath in, raising up, exhaling down into a forward fold. Half lift, and then you might just rotate around and coming down to a seated position on your mat. I might come back to the front. Taking a drink if you need a drink. We're now back down to the mat. The hard work is done. So we're in what's called rod pose here with our feet extended out. Our feet are flexed so that their toes are pointing to the ceiling. Sometimes we need to get rid of the meat on our butt to just sit down. And depending on how long your arms are, we rotate them up and back, but if your arms are long, you might need to have them out. So this is called a rod pose, just a foundation pose, like our Tadasana or our mountain pose. This is our seated foundation pose. So it's a good one to just remember that it is you're engaging the core. What we're going to do now is grab our straps, so hopefully they are relatively close by. And we're going to place it around both our feet. I'll change my pose to there. And in that same sort of Tadasana pose, where all we're doing is bringing our grip slightly, and all we're doing is bringing our spine down for a stretch in our back. So we're not trying to collapse here and have this really big stretch. We're simply keeping our spine straight. So it's once again stretching our hamstrings and the whole back of the body. You may not need the strap and can get your toes, but the strap is there for you to keep it safe. A couple of breaths here. Nice. All right. And releasing that strap and laying down on your mat. Grabbing your block so it's close by. Having your knees raised, we're going to do a supported bridge. So grabbing the block and placing it just at the base of your spine. So it should be at your sacrum, base of your spine. So you don't want it in that lower back part, you want it further down. So it's really at the base of your spine. And then bringing your buttocks back to that block. Arms are by your side, palms facing down. Your feet should be fully placed on the mat. Chin should be tucked, so you're trying to elongate the spine. Exhaling, and on an inhalation, lifting that pelvis up, and vertebra by vertebra, we're going to lift up to a bridge pose, and then releasing vertebra by vertebra back down to the block. Do that one more time. Inhaling to lift each vertebra up. And then releasing each vertebra down. And then lifting the knees in towards the chest. We're going to aim to raise our legs in legs up the wall pose, even though there's no wall there. And this is a preparation for down the track potentially doing a shoulder stand, but this is a really good pose. Even if you're on a bed or on a couch and you just put your legs up, this is a really invigorating restorative pose for you. We're always on our legs, so our oxygenating the blood takes a bit more to get up. So we're allowing it to take a rest, take a holiday. Focusing on the breath. Is it still as deep as it has been? And then bringing those legs down, back to the mat, so your knees are still raised. lifting the hips, removing the block, taking the buttocks back down to the mat. And we're going to have our feet a bit wider apart, and we'll do the windscreen wiping. So we take our knees to one side, then to the other, just to counterpose what we've just done. Go at your own pace here. And then bringing your knees into your chest, giving yourself a hug, saying well done for everything you've done today. And maybe you'll rock from side to side just to give your lower back a bit of a massage. You can grab hold of your knees and rotate them slightly so that they massage the lower back. And then the best part of the class, lower those legs, stretch them out, find a comfortable position. So if that is with your knees raised, that's fine. But aim to close your eyes into Shavasana. This is the pose that allows you to reap the rewards of everything you've done. I'm going to take the time to check in again. Let you do your own scan of your body from your toes to your head. How are you feeling now compared to when you walked in an hour ago? Has anything shifted? Are you feeling more relaxed, more powerful, more flexible, stronger? Whatever that is, just checking in. Using the time to focus on your breath. Maybe counting an in-breath of 3 and an out-breath of 4. Knowing that the breath is the most important thing for us to keep us alive, and yet it's one of the things we take for granted. So if there's one thing you can take away from today's class, is to focus on your breath outside of this room. If you notice your anxiety levels going up, this is the perfect time to breathe more deeply, more calmly. So I invite you now to just bring movement back to your body. Feel your toes, feel your fingers. Maybe move your head from side to side. And invite you to roll onto one side. And when you're ready, rolling up and getting into a seated position. Thank you for your time today, for your energy. Appreciate Andy's opportunity to allow me to work with you, and I will see you next week. You can put your hands in Anjali Mudra in Heart Center, and I appreciate your time, and I look forward to working with you again. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Stop the recording now.